Hello, this is the Cobra MT270K, which is a 3-in-1 multi-tool, and it's got a 27cc Kawasaki engine. So what I'm going to do is take it out of the box, get everything out and show you how to put it together and show you the 3 different attachments that you can use around the garden. So here it is all unpacked. You get an awful lot in the box in this 3-in-1. So starting off, we've got the Kawasaki engine unit and the first part of the drive shaft with the controls on there. We've got the handle that fits onto it. We've got an extension, because the idea of this is for 2 of the tools, the hedge cutter and the mini chainsaw, then you can extend it to reach high up into trees and things. We've got the brush cutter attachment, and with that you get the nylon cord or the steel cutting blade there for woody subjects. Then we've also got the hedge cutter attachment there that clips on, so that's a really good strong hedge cutting blade that you've got. And then of course for the chainsaw attachment, we've got everything we need for that. So this is the chainsaw attachment. We've got the blade and the chain, the cover guard, petrol tank. So everything is there you need to put it together. And the all important manual, there's a Cobra manual and also a Kawasaki engine manual. So everything you need to know for assembly and maintenance and looking after this 3-in-1 unit is in there. So we're going to start by putting it together. So what I thought I'd show you is just the basic principle of how easy it is to put attachments on and off. So what I'm going to do for that is to use the extension pole just to demonstrate that. And we've got the tube here, it's got holes at the end which we have to line up, and if you look inside there you can just see the end of the square drive shaft, and that will fit into a square end in here. So again, if we look into this one, we can see there it's almost like a socket head, and what we're going to do is we pull out this pin at the side. That will then, when released, will line up with the holes in this. So I'm going to slide that in. Now it just takes a bit of wiggling, and it's going in now, so it's going in, so it's got to go all the way. So just give it a wiggle, and eventually when it's lined up the pin will go in, and the pin is now in and that is locked solid. So the drive shafts are now connected within there, and that is solid. To get it out you would pull that pin out and wiggle it out, and then what we also do is just tighten this to make sure it is doubly secure, so get that nice and tight. So that's how easy it is to put the attachment on, and whether you're using the hedge cutter, whether you're using the brush cutter or the chainsaw attachments, that is how we interchange them very, very quickly. And remember, always keep that. So what we'll do is we're just going to put this out the way because there's a lot on the table, and then I can show you how we change the heads on the multi-tool. So we'll start with the brush cutter. This is it. So it's already got the head attached. We never take that off. That lives on there permanently. And it's onto this that we can put the nylon cord or the triangular 3-bladed brush cutter. So what we're going to do first is fit the guard, the safety guard. So the tools are supplied. So what we need is one of the Allen keys in here. It's the smaller of the two. And we're going to take this apart. So just a case of taking this apart, and then we're going to fit it around the shaft. Right, okay, so they're all undone, so that lifts off, so pop that there, and then this plate comes out from underneath, so that's going to be attached around the drive shaft. But what we need to do is take out this other little nut here using the same Allen key. So that is just going to take out, just needs to crack it open, and that will then just screw out, and then we can fit that black bracket onto there. It comes complete with a little washer, so we need to save the washer. So what we do is put the washer back onto there, and then this fits on underneath there like that. But we've got to pad it because that will vibrate. So you'll notice there is this piece of rubber which goes around the shaft at the end like that, and we can position it so it sits in like a little cradle basically. And then we can put our nut back into there and tighten that up. And the idea of the split washer there is that that again will hold it really tight and it stops it vibrating out. So just finger tight for now, so we've got a little bit of movement on it, because now we can attach this is the guard which fits underneath like that. It slides into position. So that's underneath there. I'm just holding it in place for now, and we've got the rubber cushion there. So then we can take the top that we've already taken off, put that back in, line it up, and then we can tighten that all down. Again, really tight with that so that it squashes it onto that rubber band that's around it. Okay, so we want those nice and tight like that. And then finally, the one that we put in finger tight, we just need to finish that one off as well. So just get your Allen key and tighten that round to make sure that it's tightened onto that spring washer. So that is the guard on. I'll show you how to take the head off. Bear in mind that this is a left-hand thread, so it's clockwise to loosen it and anti-clockwise to tighten it, so the opposite to normal. And it's got also a locking mechanism, so you'll notice at the back there's a hole and this pin comes with it. So if you just pop that in the hole and twist it, it will then lock it into place, so that when we put the socket on there, we can turn it. So the socket on there, I'm going to use one of the Allen keys through there, and then we can give that a twist to take that off. So that's loosened it. So take the nut off. Okay, and then the cover comes off like that, and then there is also this base one here, these base ones there. So to put the nylon one on, we put that on, that one goes back on, and it's got the cog, so it locks it into place, and then we can get our nylon head. So we remember this is going on anti-clockwise to tighten it, holding the pin still in place. So spin it round, and when it's tight, give it a really good tight, and that pin is stopping that from twisting. So that now won't vibrate off. We can take the pin out. When you buy it, you'll see it's got these loops like that. Take those out. This is an automatic feed as well. So when you're using this, when you bang it on the ground, it will automatically release more of the cord. And if it releases too much, it will cut it to the right length with this cutter here. So you don't have to do it manually, it's just bang it down. So what we'll do is take that off, and then I'll show you how to put the blade in. So it's the reverse. So we just get the pin, hold it in, twist it until it drops into position, and then we're going to twist it in a clockwise direction to loosen it off. So that's that, put that to one side. So then we can take out the blade. So this is perfect if you've got really tough weeds and woody stems. It comes with a protective cover on there because it is quite sharp. So I would leave that on while you're fitting it, and then you take it off when you start to use it. So we've stripped it down. So what we do with this is now we take off this cover here, and we don't need this for this one. So we can put that again somewhere safe, and then this will fit over the collar in the center just there. Then we can get this cup that we had on initially and just fit that on, and then we're back with the bolt, and again it's a anti-clockwise direction to tighten it because of the left-handed thread. I've got the pin in still at the back, so that's holding it, and then the socket to just tighten that on. And a good tighten on there like that. Okay, so that is now ready for cutting those really tough weeds. And when you want to take the cover off, it's very simple, just very simply unhooks and stretches off like that, and there you can see the blade, and then you can cut. And when you're finished with it, again, just for safety, it's always a good idea to put this on so that it's not going to come to any harm at all. Like that, it just clips on onto there, and that clips back into position like that. So really simple to change them, but make sure that you do keep these in a safe place. So that's how you would change the heads on the brush cutter. Next we've got here the hedge cutter. So again, we've already looked at how that fits on. So we would take the cover off, line it up with the shaft and lock it into place. Just want to show you how this works, because this is what we call an articulating head. So we can use this in various positions. So this is the blade. It's got a blade cover on it for your safety. These are very sharp, so I always advise you to leave that on until you're actually cutting. But to alter the angle of this, what we do is we pull down this red sleeve here, and then we can twist it round into whatever position you want, and it will again lock into position. So we've got, as we can see, all these positions. So it means that when you're cutting the hedge, you could do the side of the hedge like that. So if you want to cut the top of a hedge and have it flat, then we just twist it right the way round, and then we can lock it into position. It needs to lock in. That is really important. If this cover isn't at the top and it hasn't clicked into a hole, the blade won't work, because it won't have connected with the gearing inside the gearbox there. And then that just means you can then use it in that flat position to do the top of a hedge. And when you are using it, obviously you would slide that off to do the cutting and put that again back in position when you're storing it. So really, really easy to use. There's also a grease nipple on the top of these. You'll notice there are several. There's one here and one there. These are already packed with grease in the factory, but follow the instructions in your manual and keep these topped up with grease just to make sure that everything is working properly and prolong the life of it. So that is how you do the hedge cutter. And finally, we've got the pole pruner here. So this is the cutting head where the blade and the chain attaches. This is our oil reservoir to keep it lubricated. So what I'll do is we'll put this on the bench now, and I'll show you how to assemble it so that you can put it onto the multi-tool engine. This is really easy to do. What we need to do is actually put the bar and the chain on it. So for this, you'll need the spanner and the screwdriver that's provided. And first of all, I'm going to take off this nut. It shouldn't be too tight when you get it. So we take the nut off and this plastic cover that goes there. This is what we call the chain bar. Before we fit the bar and chain, I just want to show you how the bar goes onto the mechanism here. So it slides into that position there, and then obviously the chain will go around it and around the sprocket just here. And you'll notice here we've got an adjuster, and this is how we would tension the chain, and it's finger tight at this point. And what we need to do is, when it's fitted, this little lug here has to sit over into that hole there, so that as we adjust it, we can slide that backwards and forwards to tension the chain. So to get it on, it makes it easier if we put that as far back as we can, so that the chain is almost touching there. It just gives us a little bit more slack, and then we can adjust it out to tension it. So the chain is in this box here. So I'm going to wear a pair of gloves to do this, because they are quite sharp. So I'm just going to slide it out onto the bench so you can see. So it's a very good Oregon chain, what the professionals use, so that will make a great job of cutting. I'm going to put on a pair of gloves. Now it's important that you put the chain on in the right direction. So just unfurl the chain like that. So there we can see we've got the chain. Now, when these are cutting, the blade cuts on the downside of the bar, so we need it to be that the cutting edge of the blade, which is here, if we can see, that is the actual cutting edge of the blade, is going to be cutting in that direction. Okay, so that if we put it on that way, it's going to be cutting in the wrong direction because the blade is facing that way, this little piece here. So it's really important that you do that, and it's just a case of fitting it in. There's a sprocket at the end there. Just going to lift that up with the screwdriver so I can get my finger underneath it. This is a little bit fiddly, but once you've got it in, it's all falls into place like that. So that goes in the groove down both sides of the bar. Because you've got gloves on, you can actually grip that there and hold that into place. So if we loop the chain around the back sprocket, and then it will go on, and we just need to then give it a little bit of a wiggle, and we can see now that the pin is popped up there in the centre, and we've got the chain. We do need to tension it, but what we have to do now is hold that in place. I'm actually going to take off one of my gloves, and I'm going to then put the chain cover back on like that, and then we can put the nut on and tighten that into place. So that will hold that now, and then I'll show you how you adjust it. So that is the chain on. So we've tightened that up, but as we can see, the actual chain is quite loose on the bar, and that potentially could come off when you're using it. So we need to tension it. And again, there's a little screw at the back that we do use to tension it. But in order to tension it, we have to just slacken off this nut a little bit, because that's holding everything firmly in place and it won't slide. So just slacken that off a little bit, and then we can use the screwdriver, and we're actually going to screw it in. So it's screwing it in, pulls back the bar. That should then tension the chain around the bar, and I can feel that is now starting to go. There, we've got that tighter. We don't need it too tight. There's got to be a little bit of give in it, and the chain will actually slacken with wear. So refer to the manual, but that's what we normally need, that little bit of slacking it, but not loose. And then finally, of course, to lock that in position, we need to get the spanner on and just tighten that so that nothing can come loose. So that is the chain on there, nice and tight. And then of course what we need to do is put the chain guard on it, so that protects the chain and it protects you, and then I can do away with the gloves for this. The other thing we need to do with this, you'll notice on the back of it here, it's got a little tank, and that is the chain lubrication in there. So what we need to do is to fill that up with some oil. So I've got some chain oil here. This is a specific oil that is used for these chains. So, and that is just going to be poured into there. So it's quite a thick oil. Okay, so we can clearly see that as well through the little tank. Put the top back on there. So what that will do is that will automatically lubricate the chain as it's cutting, and that keeps it everything moving in there and stops it from overheating. And the other thing to notice with this is there's also a little grease nipple on the top. Again, this gear in here is packed with grease, but every now and again you need to just make sure that you put a grease gun on there and get some grease into it. So that is ready now to be attached onto the multi-tool, and you can use it for high-level pruning in trees. Now I've shown you how to assemble the three attachments, we'll just have a look at the actual engine unit itself and get that ready for action in the garden. So first thing is, it comes with a handle there which we need to fit onto the main shaft. So to do that, very simple, using the Allen key that's provided, we need to take out these 4 nuts so that we can split that into 2 parts. So I'm just going to take those 4 out. Right, okay, so that takes apart in 2 like that, and we're going to put this piece underneath the shaft. And if you look at this piece of rubber here, this is an anti-vibration rubber, just makes it more comfortable to use. We're going to fit that underneath, so it can only go in one way, and it fits into the groove there. This ridge on the end of the rubber fits into this groove here like that, and then we just simply position our handle back on. Just make sure we've lined up those bolts, and then we can start and screw that back down into position. Okay, we need to get those all really tight so that it's not going to slip. So that's nice and firm on the handlebar now. Next thing, we've got a shoulder strap. Just makes it easier for using. The idea is the shoulder strap literally goes over your shoulder like that and clips onto there. So that simply just clips onto there. And I say that just makes it, when you're using it, take some of the weight, and you can adjust this obviously to suit your size. Before we get the engine fueled up and start it, just going to swap over the head. This has got the extension on that we put on at the beginning. So to take that off, we would undo this wing nut here, and then it's pull out the pin, and then it's just a case of give that a wiggle to get it all out. So it's just a wiggle, and I can feel that come in, and there it is. So that's out, and then of course what we do, the cap goes back on there to stop that shaft being damaged, so that can be stored somewhere safe. Here we've got the brush cutter head. You would only ever use the brush cutter head here without the extension. The extension is only needed for the hedge cutter and for the pole saw. So we can take this end off, just give that a twist to get it off. And that goes in exactly the same way. So I'm going to pull out the pin. Okay, so it's just a case of pull the pin out and hold it out, line the holes up, and just give that a wiggle and a twist. And when it clicks back in like that, that is secure, and then just tightening that nut. So it's really, really fast to do. You can change the cutting heads in just a minute or so, and you're ready to do something else around the garden. So what we need to do now is just look at the controls on this. Very, very simple. On the handle itself, we've got the trigger throttle there, so that gives us the revs that we need to do the work, and it's also got the stop-start button there. So it's designed for when you're using it to just be able to push it forward to stop it with your thumb. So it's instant stops the engine. To start it, that has to be in the back position. So you can never start it when it's pushed forward. So remember, always pull it back to start the engine. And with this one, we can lock the throttle on for starting. So we just lift the trigger, push the button down there, and it locks the throttle on, which makes it a little bit easier to start. The engine itself, this is the Kawasaki engine. The engine is what we call a two-stroke engine. It runs on a two-stroke mixture, which is petrol and oil blended together at the right ratio, and that varies from different engine to engine. So everything about the mixture will be in the manual that you get with it. So I've already mixed some up here, and always use fresh petrol. Use an unleaded E10 is fine, but the life of modern petrols isn't that good really now. So you need to use this within about 30 days of mixing it. And never use any old stale petrol. That way the engine will run much smoother. So I'm just going to pour that in to the tank, and that's plenty to get us started. And put the cap straight back on. That can go away. So starting procedure, very simple. We've got the controls on the handlebar there. We've got a choke just here, so we need to use the choke for when the engine is cold. So we just pull the little lever around into that position. This is an automatic choke, so when the engine is running and you start to use the throttle, it will automatically click off. So you don't have to remember to turn it off. So that's in the on position. I'm going to lock my throttle down, put that on. And then we've also got a primer button with this. Now, primer button is just under here. It's just a little rubber button, as you can probably see. And what we have to do with this is pump it several times, and that will pump fuel from the tank, and you can see it probably going up this pipe here into the carburetor, and it'll have some air bubbles initially, and that is just to prime the carburetor so that it's got fuel in. So you push it several times, and we do that every time we're starting the engine from cold, and that is it now. So all we do is pull the recoil. It will take a few initially because it's a new engine, but again, once it's been started, it will start very quickly. So let's give it a pull. There you go, it's now ticking over nicely, and you can let it warm up, and then you can start to do your work with it. To switch it off, it's simply push your thumb forward like that. So there it is. That's the multi-tool. 3 different applications you can use it for. And remember, when you are using it, always refer to the owner manual there, which has got everything you need to know about not only the assembly, but the running and the maintenance of this tool. So enjoy it and use it safely around the garden.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk, and always have your Cobra serviced regularly. Check the website for your nearest dealer.